a decorated Navy commander, a fallen sailor's remains, and a flight he was denied. What happened next shook the entire nation. The airport was packed, families dragging rolling suitcases, business travelers glued to their phones, kids darting ahead of exhausted parents. The usual chaos. Commander Ethan Walker stepped inside, his polished dress shoes clicking against the tile floor. He had been through this routine countless times before. But today was different. The weight on his chest wasn't just from the ribbons and medals on his uniform. It was from the casket waiting on the tarmac, draped in the American flag. Petty Officer First Class Ryan Mitchell, 23 years old. Gone too soon. Commander Walker adjusted his hat and took a deep breath. He had a job to do, a duty that went beyond rank or recognition. This wasn't about him. It was about the solemn promise made to every service member who never made it home. No one gets left behind. He approached the airline counter, setting down his military orders and ID. The woman behind the desk barely glanced at him at first, typing something into her computer. Then she frowned and looked up, a pause just a second too long. Sir, can I see that again?" Her voice was tight. Walker handed over the paperwork once more, watching her closely. The flicker of hesitation. The sideways glance at her coworker. The slight shift in her posture, like she had just stepped into something she wasn't prepared for. She turned, whispering something to another agent. The man glanced over, his expression unreadable. The moment stretched, thick with something Walker had seen before but never gotten used to. When she returned, her smile was stiff, forced. "I'm sorry, sir, but there seems to be an issue with your ticket. We can't allow you to board at this time." Walker exhaled slowly. He had dealt with all kinds of situations, combat zones, foreign diplomacy, political entanglements. But this was different. "I'm escorting the remains of a fallen sailor," he said evenly, tapping the paperwork. "Everything is in order." The agent didn't meet his eyes. "I understand, sir, but there's a security protocol in place and we can't override it." Walker kept his voice steady. "Security protocol?" "Yes, sir," she said, forcing another weak smile. "It's just policy." Behind him, the line was growing. People shifting, murmuring. He felt their eyes on him. Instead of stepping aside, he squared his shoulders and stood firm. He wasn't leaving without an answer, but the airline staff wasn't backing down either. The air around the counter felt heavier now. Conversations in the line had started to quiet as people took notice. A man in a crisp military uniform being denied his flight wasn't something you saw every day. "Ma'am," Walker said, his voice steady, "I need to understand exactly what the issue is. This is a military assignment, not a personal trip. My documentation is valid." The agent hesitated again, her eyes darting toward the other airline staff huddled near the back, whispering. A supervisor, a man in his mid-50s with a tired expression, finally stepped forward. He adjusted his name tag and folded his arms. "Sir, I apologize for the inconvenience," he started, his voice laced with that professional tone people used when they wanted you to stop asking questions. "But we have certain policies in place, and unfortunately, we can't override them at this time." That phrase again. Policies. Walker inhaled slowly through his nose. He had seen this before, just in a different setting. "I've flown with military escorts before," he said, keeping his frustration buried under years of discipline. "I know the procedure, and I know there's no policy stopping me from boarding. So let's be honest. What's the real reason I'm being denied?" The supervisor cleared his throat. "It's just an extra security measure. Nothing personal, sir. Nothing personal." That was rich. Then from the line behind him, a voice cut through the tension. "Sir, do you have an issue with his military clearance?" Walker turned his head slightly. A man, a few spots behind him in line, had spoken up. He was older, maybe mid-60s, with a weathered face and a navy cap pulled low over his brow. A veteran. The supervisor looked uncomfortable. "No, sir. This isn't about clearance. We just have to follow standard protocol." The veteran let out a sharp breath. "Yeah? I've been through security 1,000 times, and I've never seen protocol stop a sailor from escorting one of our own home." He folded his arms. So what is it? Murmurs spread through the line. People pulled out their phones, recording. The shift in the air was palpable. The airline staff could feel it too. The agent who had originally denied Walker stole a glance at her supervisor, looking unsure now. A young woman, maybe 25, stepped forward, phone in hand. I don't mean to intrude, she said carefully. But I just want to make sure I understand. They're not letting you board? Walker exhaled. That's correct. The woman blinked, like she expected to hear a different answer. Then she nodded once and turned her phone screen toward him. I'm live right now. People need to see this. And just like that, the floodgates opened. Another man held up his phone. This is wrong, he said, shaking his head. This man is literally escorting a fallen sailor. A woman further back raised her voice. Excuse me, she called toward the counter. Can someone explain why he's being denied? The terminal was no longer just a place people passed through. It was now a spotlight. And for the airline, it was a disaster. By the time the airline's corporate office caught wind of the situation, it was too late. The story had spread. News networks picked it up. Military organizations released statements. Politicians weighed in. A trending hashtag calling for a boycott gained traction. Stock prices dropped. Customers flooded social media with outrage. And then, the final blow, a lawsuit. Under pressure, the airline's CEO made a public appearance, calling it a regrettable misunderstanding. Employees involved were placed on administrative leave. Too little, too late. But Walker? He completed his mission. He stood by as Petty Officer Mitchell's family received him for the last time. He didn't need headlines. He didn't need attention. He needed respect. And that was the real fight. Respect shouldn't be conditional. It shouldn't require a viral video or public outrage. It should be the standard. The people at that airport, the veteran, the passengers who spoke up, the ones who refused to stay silent. They proved something important. When people stand together, injustice has nowhere to hide. If you believe in accountability, if you believe in honoring those who serve, let your voice be heard. Because silence lets things like this happen again. And next time, it might not go viral. Did you know? Just one like from you can give me the motivation to create more awesome videos. And by subscribing with the notification bell on, you'll never miss out on my next amazing content. Don't forget to leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this video or suggest a topic you'd like to see next.